This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
If you may or may not remember, we had an opportunity of talking to each other just over a month ago. And I want to basically start off by completing the circle, so to speak. I left you to consider following through on a couple of undertakings. Do you remember that exchange that you and I had, sir?
I do indeed, and we responded, the foundation responded the next day, I hope, adequately to the three requests.
I haven't seen that correspondence. I'm not impugning your credibility, your character, sir, by any stretch. It may have gone to the committee, but it didn't actually come to my attention. Are you able to elaborate as to the details that I had asked you to consider?
Yeah, indeed. If you allow me, I'll just, I can read a relatively short email, which was in response to your questions.
Thank you.
Please find below the information requested. There's a recital at the beginning to the clerk of the committee. And then please find below the information requested. On March 1st, 2023, upon the initiative of the President CEO, Pascal Fournier, and with the approval of the board's executive committee, the foundation sent a check in the amount of $140,000 to reimburse the donation that had been received by the foundation in two $70,000 tranches in 2016 and 17. Check was signed by directors Bruce McNiven and Peter Salas, drawn to the order of Millennium Golden Eagle International Canada, the Canadian corporation that made the donations, and sent via Canada Post. I'm going to just summarize because I know your time is limited, so I'll just whip through some of these paragraphs. But the foundation issued a statement the same day declaring that it had been refunded. But on March 21st, 2023, after three failed delivery attempts, Canada Post returned to the foundation the envelope containing the reimbursement check. After the resignation of the president and CEO on April 10th, 2023, the directors learned that in early April, foundation staff, reporting to the president, had contacted the Bank of Montreal to confirm the origin of the two payments back in 2016 and 17. And the bank had confirmed in April 23 that both payments were received by electronic transfer from the Canadian corporate entity listed on the CRA receipts that had been issued by the foundation, and the two payments originated from its Montreal, that is the donor's Montreal bank account, which was still open in 2023 and in good standing. This information had never been provided to the board, which had recently been led to believe that one of the two $70,000 payments may have originated in China and that the foundation's CRA receipts may have been improperly issued. On April 12, 2023, the $140,000 check that had been returned to the foundation by Canada Post was delivered directly to the donor's downtown Montreal branch, the branch of the Bank of Montreal. Check was provided to the donor's account manager at the branch, who deposited the check immediately and confirmed the deposit in writing. The foundation is taking the appropriate steps with the CRA in regards to the above. CRA receipts that had been issued in 2016 and 17 were both issued to the same Canadian corporation, Millennium Golden Eagle International Canada. First receipt was addressed overseas, and the second receipt, approximately 1 year later, was addressed to the corporation's Canadian address.
And the latter part of what you just described to me, sir, did that come from the bank, that information?
Which part? The fact that the account was there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what you read out is the information that was transferred to the Ethics Committee the day after your testimony?
Correct. Yeah, I'm reading from the memo to the clerk of the Ethics Committee.
Okay. There's a couple of issues that I have with that. So from your perspective, sir, $140,000 has been redeposited electronically in the bank account, the Canadian bank account of Millennium Golden Eagle International Canada, Inc. Is that correct?
I'm not sure it was electronically. I think the check was delivered to the bank. The same check that had been attempted to be delivered some weeks earlier.
Okay, and
was-
did you receive any confirmation?
Yes.
From Millennium?
Not
Upon
fr-
receipt of
not
the
from
monies
Millennium.
going? Sorry, if I could just
Sorry,
talk
pardon
one
me.
at a time, sir. Did you receive a receipt, some type of acknowledgement from Millennium that they in fact had received $140,000 directly into their bank account?
Not to my knowledge. The bank, it was confirmed to us by the bank that the funds have been deposited to that account, but to my knowledge, there is no response from Millennial.
Okay.
Uh,
Did you
You
exercise,
have 20
sir,
seconds, Mr. Brock.
Did you exercise any due diligence, sir, to determine who the directors are of that corporation?
I believe, I did not, but I believe people at the foundation did, and determined who was in charge. And I do know that a letter was also sent informing Millennial to Millennial's Canadian address. And I don't believe we received a response to that letter.
Thank you. Mr. Brock, you have the floor again for
Thank you.
5 minutes.
Mr. Johnson, I just want to clarify, it is your belief today, as I believe it was your belief when you last testified before ethics, that that $140,000 came from a Canadian corporation, correct? The Millennium Golden Eagle Corporation?
That is my belief.
Okay. Either, sir, you have not done enough research on this particular issue, or your handlers or someone within the foundation is not giving you the straight goods. Because the foundation gave the ethics committee a series of documents, and I'm looking at one particular document, which is a banking document from your institution, the BMO, that has the Trudeau Foundation as its customer. And on July 25th, 2016, the foundation received not a Canadian donation, but rather an international donation of $70,000. Were you aware of that?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I'm not sure it makes a difference.
Well, I think it makes a big difference, sir,
Well,
with all due respect. It makes a big difference because the committee members presented to you on May the 9th a series of red flags that someone with your intellect and your business acumen and the fact that you are a lawyer, in fact, you're the chair of the foundation, should have raised a number of red flags. Now, I know you went into that committee as you went into this committee talking about unfair, ungrounded allegations. But let's talk about facts. We're not talking about simple intelligence. We're not talking about simple rumors. We're talking about an intercepted, recorded conversation between CSIS and one of the donors, Mr. Bin Zhang, and a Toronto consulate who was promised as follows. The donors, Mr. Bin Zhang was told by the Communist Party in Beijing to offer the money in the hopes of influencing the new Liberal leader, Justin Trudeau. And surprise, surprise, money flows in, foundation reaches an agreement with Mr. Zhang and Mr. Ginshang. Within 5 months, both of those businessmen, those Chinese, not Canadian businessmen, Chinese businessmen, were granted private access to the newly minted Prime Minister. That didn't raise a red flag to you. Furthermore, sir, we have a real discrepancy when it comes to the tax receipts. The first tax receipt I brought to your attention was issued to the Millennium Golden Eagle International Canadian Incorporated Company with an address in Hong Kong. And then Beijing interfered, contacted the foundation, contacted to one of your employees and said, sorry, wrong address, send it to Beijing. And I told you, sir, that the address that Millennium Golden Eagle International Canadian Inc. originally gave the foundation was fake, because there was a reporter who went to Hong Kong and knocked on the door. They never heard of the corporation or they never heard of Mr. Bin Zhang or knew Genshing. And that didn't raise any red flags to you as the chair of the board either, did it?
Well, to be fair, we wouldn't have been aware of any of that at the time. But also, I must say
Well, hold on, sir.
The story.
The foundation was aware of that because the foundation was contacted by Beijing to redirect the receipt.
I've looked
So,
at that.
sir, with due respect, you were aware of that. Now, the second receipt that came in 2017 lists the same corporation, this time to an address in Brossard, Quebec, listing Ben Zhang and New Genshing, notwithstanding that this particular address does not accord with the address that the corporation was registered under, which is in Dorval, Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that, sir?
I've heard that. Again, the difference between a registered address and a business address can be, with many
Well,
corporations,
sir, I think
is
it's
quite
important
different.
because your past CEO, Mr. Rosenberg, misled, in fact, lied to Canadians. And I would probably suggest misled Canada Revenue Agency by suggesting that this was, in fact, a Canadian donation as opposed to a foreign donation.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
that was the
Brock.
concern.
That is your
that
time, Mr. Brock.
That was the concern Ms. Fournier had. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Johnson, I understand that you know quite well our former Governor General, Mr. David Johnston.
Quite well would be an exaggeration. I've met him a couple of times.
Okay.
That's it.
He's a foundation member.
He was a member of the foundation from 2018 until, I think, earlier this year.
Right. And he left the foundation as a result of accepting the appointment as the special advisor to the Prime Minister.
I'm guessing that that's the case, but
It coincided really with the same day.
Important to understand what the role of the members is. The distinction between
I don't need
members.
to know.
and-
I don't need to know,
Okay.
to know the roles. Thank you. I just wanted
Sure.
to confirm the relationship aspect. Did, at any point in time prior to the release of his first report to Canadians, did he reach out to you in person, by letter, email, what have you, to discuss the circumstances surrounding the foreign interference issue pertaining to the foundation and the origins of the $140,000 check?
I've
Was that
received-
discussed between the two of
I
you?
have I have received no such communication from him.
Did any member of his team reach out to you to discuss that, sir? He's got a very vast firm full of lawyers and consultants and what have you. Did anyone, to your knowledge, reach out to a foundation member?
To the
discuss-
foundation, not to my knowledge, no.
To your knowledge?
No.
And you personally did not reach out to
Correct.
him to give your side of the story?
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I understand that Ms. Fournier had some issues with respect to the donation, which ultimately led to her resignation. She, in fact, discovered that the Millennium Golden Eagle International Canadian, Inc. Was, in fact, associated with Beijing, China's China Cultural Industry Association. She also found out that industry association was communicating with Trudeau Foundation employees about omitting information on a donation tax receipt. Now, the website of that China Cultural Industry Association says it adheres to the total leadership of the China Communist Party and was formed with state approval. It lists Mr. Zhang Bin as its president. Mm-hmm. As per that association, Millennium Golden Eagle International Canada has Bin Zhang as the chairman and was created with the approval of Beijing, China. Now, knowing what I know now, and what Pascal Fournier has known about Millennium Golden Eagle, do you agree, sir, that given your vast knowledge of corporate law, of corporations in general governance, etc., would you agree with me, sir, that Millennium Golden Eagle International is in fact a shell company operated by Beijing, China?
I have no knowledge of any facts that would support that.
Okay. And would you agree with me, sir, that they proudly and publicly take their marching orders from the government in Beijing?
I have, again, I have to say the same thing. I'm afraid I have no knowledge of what their relationship might be with their government.
Were you aware that Zhang Bin, one of the donors, was a political advisor to the communist regime based in Beijing?
I've read that, yep. Yep.
Was that known to you prior to your appearance, sir?
Today?
Yes.
Yes, I read about it a while ago.
Was
I
it
can't
known
say
to you
when.
at the time that the donation was made?
No.
No?
No, not to me. No,
Okay.
and I must say.
So I'm having a really hard time understanding why Beijing is communicating directly with the foundation, not Zhang Bin, not Mr. Ginshing, not Millennium Golden Eagle situated in Canada, but Beijing giving instructions to the foundation about how the donation receipt should be titled and where it should go. And you, as the chairman of the board, just surprisingly has no knowledge of this.
I certainly had no knowledge at the time. I wasn't aware of the donation, and I first learned about it a couple of years after it had been made.
Well, I would hope, sir, that these people would be fired. This is a serious matter. It complicates the foundation and potentially exposes the foundation to legal risks with the Canadian Revenue Agency. Do you see that potential, sir?
I'm not convinced by some of these assertions and allegations. With great respect, I have my doubts about. I have looked at the 160 pages of information relating to which I believe was every document that the foundation had that was provided some years ago. And
No, Mr. Brock, your time is up.
So it's unfortunate, Mr. Johnson, that it appears that your former CEO, Pascal Fournier, is the only one that has a strong level of honesty and ethics. Because when I listened to and reviewed the evidence of Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Rosenberg saw the same red flags that Pascal Fournier did and did absolutely nothing about it. What I want to ask you, sir, though, is I've looked at some correspondence from Pascal Fournier dated March the 25th, 2023, to a number of board members. You're listed as the top line in that particular email. And she outlines all of her discoveries, line by line, paragraph by paragraph, event after event, literally almost without using the word fraud, in terms of her concerns about how you publicly stated that this donation was a Canadian donation when it clearly was not. It was foreign from Beijing, China. But I think what is concerning me, and I want to ask you questions, sir, is that she asked your legal counsel, the foundation's legal counsel, a number of questions. Who was your legal counsel on March the 25th, 2023?
it was the firm of Borden, Ladner, Gervais.
BVG?
BLG.
BLG?
Yep.
Okay, that's out of Montreal?
Well, the Montreal office was our counsel.
Did you have a
but they're
particular
national-
lawyer that oversaw
national
the
firm.
file?
Yes. Let's see. We had Michael Gradinsky in the Montreal office.
Okay.
Who was involved
So,
with the file.
so she asked, or she was going to send, I should say, she's going to send 3 specific questions to legal counsel.
Yep.
The first question is in relation to the various tax receipts, the various names on the tax receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And the question put to legal counsel was, is this consistent with the law, both Canadian law and our own policy on acceptance of gifts? Is there anything we should be aware in terms of CRA and ISED compliance? Then number 2, one of the tax receipts includes an address in China without the names of the donors at the explicit request of the China Cultural Industry Association while mentioning the Quebec-based real estate company. Is this consistent with law, Canadian law, and policy? Is there anything we should be aware of in terms of CRA compliance? Did legal counsel receive the request to answer those questions, and what was their response?
I believe they did, and this was the whole idea here was these are issues that should be examined and in detail.
Examined by whom?
By legal counsel.
Yes. So
in detail.
They looked into it and gave you an opinion?
No answer and no opinion has been received because a few days later, President Fournier fired that firm from the file and replaced them
With a different law firm?
with a different law firm.
Okay. Did the different law firm receive the same questions?
I believe they did.
Okay. Who
But
was the other law firm?
it was Miller Thompson.
All right. Did you get a response from Miller Thompson?
No
Why?
response because their involvement with that file terminated because it was found that they'd done some work for us. They were not independent of us.
Okay.
And
Did you go to a third law firm?
we have then within a very short time the board resigned, and so
Did you go to a third law firm
we have now gone to a third law firm
ask
in the
these-
last few weeks
to have these questions
to
answered?
have those questions and others, a broad range of questions answered.
And who's the name of that new law
And
firm?
that is Norton Rose.
Okay. And when did you retain them to give you a legal opinion on these issues?
It would have been, I'm guessing, 2 to 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago at least. I was out of the country and not aware at the time, but I was not involved.
Okay. And are you prepared,
I'm
sir? Are you prepared, given the highly important matter before Parliament on this particular issue, are you prepared to give us an undertaking to release portions of that legal opinion?
Thank you, Mr. Brock. That's your time. I'll allow a brief answer, Mr. Johnson.
Sure, yeah, we're happy to release, to tell the results of that
you.
inquiry.
Thank you very much.
And